My health started having challenges about 10 years ago after I became a mother, and I assumed it was just pregnancy and new motherhood, and the symptoms just built and built, and I call it now mystery illness. The symptoms I had were chronic fatigue, complete exhaustion, complete body pain, back pain, muscular, brain fog, insomnia, I couldn't sleep, migraines. I broke my toes a couple of times because I was just so disorientated. I would walk into things and then be in a boot. I couldn't pick my kids up. I could hold my newborn when I had my third, but I couldn't carry my preschooler or my toddler. The diagnoses that I got were from, there was a list. Fibromyalgia, probably, ADHD, what were the rest? Oh, depression, that was a good one. That was based on the memory loss. And I said, look, I haven't shared any symptoms of sadness or depression with you to the neurologist. And I said, can I ask why you're giving me a depression diagnosis? And she said, well, you have clear memory loss and it's quite impaired from the testing we've done. And it's either dementia or depression. And you're too young for dementia, therefore, by default, it's depression. So take the meds and you'll be fine. I got lots of Xanax and other meds, just to kind of, pain meds, and nothing was really working, and it was getting worse. And at its worst, probably in 2019, I couldn't get out of bed without crawling on my hands and knees to pick up my kids. My feet and my legs were so inflamed, it was just too painful to walk on them. I had my broken toes, so I was kind of hobbling around in a boot. And I couldn't sleep. The insomnia was so bad, and when I did finally fall asleep, I'd wake up in pain every time I moved because the muscular pain was so bad. And my therapist eventually called it a day and said, you're going to go to rehab for exhaustion, which I didn't even know was a thing. And it sounded a bit appealing. She said they'd feed me and they'd take care of me and I'd get lots of sleep. I didn't go to rehab because I had an infant I was still nursing and 2 other kids to take care of, and I was worried they wouldn't let me out. So I realized at that point I had to make changes, and I had to do something very differently to all the things the doctors were telling me to do, which was just basically take meds. So I found the work of Joe Dispenza, and I wasn't the best student, to be honest. I blamed it on my ADHD, but I found it really hard to focus and sit down and actually do the videos. But I did manage to get myself signed up to Marco Island in January 2022, and that was my big driver. So I finished my progressive intensive online, almost. I didn't quite finish the breath module, but...
See how honest she is?
And when I got to Marco, I was super excited until I heard that there were these things called coherence healings, and then I thought I'd really messed up, because I thought that if you were in need of any healing, you were supposed to be in the group of being a healee, and you should have applied for healing. And if you were completely healthy and fine, then you were in the other group. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know about this. I'm in the wrong group. And it was a bit of a setback. And I got over that, and I'm like, look, these people really need healings. They've got, terminal cancer, and they're in wheelchairs, and, get over yourself and get in there and, just show up. So I did. But it wasn't until the second, I think it was the last day, and I'd done the first 2 coherence healings, and I'd showed up, and I'd opened my heart, and I'd gone in for the person I was healing. But on the last day, this amazing, beautiful mother came on stage, and she told the story of transformation of her severely disabled 3-year-old daughter who had had 2 coherence healings at the event, and for the first time in, ever, had slept through the night without the stomach pain, the gas that she woke up with, and it was just incredible for her. And it blew my heart wide open, just hearing that mother's story, and I had tears rolling down my face. And when I left the room, I came face to face with the mother with her daughter in her arms, and my heart blew even wider open. And I was able to say, thank you for your story, thank you for sharing. And when I went back in for the last healing, my heart was on fire. It was just so wide open. I was so in love with the people, what I was here for, and it wasn't about me. I was just so happy and grateful to be able to go and help heal another person. And in that healing, as a healer, something happened that was a bit unusual. In the healing, my head started jerking back, which had been happening in meditations, and I'd been resisting it. It was really uncomfortable with the kind of muscular pain I had. It was not enjoyable at all. And my mouth kept kind of, and it felt weird, and I resisted it. But just before the healing, Dr. Joe had said about his experience in his meditation retreat, where he had pain and he surrendered and went through the pain. And I made a decision. I'm like, I'm not going to let this spoil this healing. I'm going to just go with it. And I did, and my whole body started vibrating, and I'm trying to hold my hands above the healee, and I was sobbing, crying. I kind of left my body, and then at some point, a bolt of lightning hit me somewhere in the head or the heart, I can't remember, and I was aware of this guttural scream coming out of somewhere that was apparently me. And this went on for a while. I don't know how many times I screamed or how long I was shaking for, but I managed to hold my hands the whole time. And at the end, the girl next to me tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Can I just say thank you?" I said, "I'm sorry." I was mortified. I was like, I've disturbed everybody's healing. I made a big scene. I'm like, this is not what this is about. And the girl said, when you screamed, there was a bolt of lightning energy that hit me in the heart, and I felt unconditional love like I've never felt in my life. So thank you. Anyway. And I came back, and I felt the most unconditional love after that, in that moment. It was only like when my daughter was born and my other boys were born, that love that I felt when I first met them on my chest, that's the only way I can describe it. And I sat in that bliss, and I knew in that moment I had changed, I had healed. And I just knew, and I had. But the story changes a little bit because I went back home to my environment and my same kind of patterns and reactions. And I came away with a belief that people that were doing these hour-long meditations every day and continuing or doing the work were doing it to heal. And I'm like, I'm good, I've healed. Like, I haven't got time for hour-long meditations. I've got 3 kids to take care of. I've got a busy life, and I made all these excuses, and I didn't stay at it. And within a few months, all of the symptoms started creeping back in, little by little. And I had to then have a big chat with myself and make some big changes and start doing my work. I did the progressive intensive retreat twice again online. I read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I did the whole work, the 5-week or 6-week thing in the back. And I started making meditation a daily thing that it's non-negotiable. And I make it like a date. I say to myself, if you made a date with a friend, one of your best friends, and she was coming over, you wouldn't cancel on her. You wouldn't just leave her hanging. So why would you do that to yourself? So I put it in my calendar, fit it around my kids. And even if my kids are home now, they know that Mummy has to meditate. And my 5-year-old will come up and sometimes put my headphones on and put my eye mask on and sit there chanting, "In the brain." And I'm
Think about this. Think about it. Coherence healing heals the child. The mother tells the story of the healing that takes place. A person in the audience hears the story, and her heart opens and meets the example of truth and feels grateful for the story, comes back in, has her moment where her heart opens, heals herself. The person next to her is caught up in her energy, and she felt the same feeling in her heart. Imagine the person laying down, getting the healing. You see how people change people? Thank you so much.